Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we pot up some African daisy seedlings. So let's go. We've started a lot of seeds together in the last few months, and I've been busy potting up plants like you wouldn't believe it. I promised you in those videos I would show you my process for potting up each of the seedlings. So you'll be seeing a lot of videos coming out that have to do with that process. And today's video is going to focus on how to pot up the African daisy seedlings. I live in New Hampshire. I garden in USDA Zone 5B. Based on my zip code, my average last frost date is around May 15th. Today is April 8th, and I'm about 5 weeks from my average last frost date. On March 27th, which was about 12 days ago, we multi-sowed a bunch of African daisy seeds in a restaurant takeout container. If you missed that video, feel free to check it out. I'll add a link to it in the description below. If you remember, I told you in that video that African daisy seeds prefer a cooler soil temperature. For that reason, we did not put this on a seedling heat mat. However, I did still add a humidity dome on the top just to keep the seeds nice and moist and humid. This humidity dome was removed once I had very good germination showing up inside of my seedling tray. This tray continued to be under my grow lights, which are on 16 hours a day. They come on at 5 a.m., they go off at 9 p.m. The grow lights are 2 to 3 inches above my seedlings, and that makes sure that my seedlings do not get too leggy. My takeout container has holes in the bottom of it. At this point, I've been bottom watering the takeout container. I want to make sure that my seedlings don't get any sort of fungal issues, such as damping off. And that can occur if you were to water the seedlings from above. The seeds germinated pretty quickly, and once they started germinating, I began pricking them out and potting them up. And this is what some of the seedlings that I've potted up look like so far. When it comes to seed starting, I prefer to seed start in small little takeout containers like this. I prefer multi-sowing seeds because initially it takes up a lot less room under my grow lights. And then as seeds start germinating, I can go ahead, I can start pricking out the seedlings and I can pot them up. Not only does this save room under my lights to start off with, but it also ensures I'm only pricking out the viable seeds. If I was to take all the seeds and scatter them in 6 cell packs or a big tray like this, what might happen is I might only get 40, 50, 60% germination. I prefer to have trays that are completely full. I like to start off with a small container like this, and then I can prick out those seedlings, and I know that I can fill up a tray with that type of process. I originally sowed the seeds in seed starting mix that I made myself. At this point, when we're going to be bumping up the seedlings into 6 cell packs, they're now going to be put into potting mix, which I also like to make myself. When it comes to potting mix, you can use whichever potting mix you feel comfortable with. For the last few years, I've been making my own potting mix, and the reason is I find that not only do I have more control on what goes inside of my potting mix, I also find that it's a lot cheaper when I make my own. My DIY potting mix consists of 4 parts of peat moss. You can use cocoa coir if you prefer. I like to buy my peat moss in bulk from a local garden center. I then add 1 part of perlite. I buy a nice big bag of it off of Amazon. The purpose for perlite is to provide drainage. Next, I add 1 part of vermiculite. Vermiculite is also bought in bulk off of Amazon, and its purpose is to provide moisture control. I then sprinkle the top with about 1 tablespoon of garden lime, the powder form, not the pelletized form. Since peat moss is known to be very acidic, it's a good idea to add the garden lime just to help neutralize it. You don't need to add garden lime if you're planning to use cocoa coir. I mentioned something about parts. When I'm talking about parts, I'm talking about containers or a bowl or whatever you're going to use for scooping. So let's say I was going to use this cover here. Again, it would be 4 parts of peat moss, which is 4 coverfuls, to 1 part of perlite, which is 1 coverful, to 1 part of vermiculite, 1 coverful. So whatever you use for scooping, 1 of those would equal 1 part. I then like to pre-moisten my potting mix. To do this, I add boiling water on it, and then I mix it up. The reason I like to add boiling water is to kill off any chance of fungus gnat eggs. The potting mix is fine to use once it's fully cooled down. I like to transplant my seedlings into 6 cell packs. The 6 cell packs will then get placed into a solid bottom 10 by 20 tray. It's called a 10 by 20 tray because of its dimensions. It's 10 inches one way by 20 inches the other way. I am all about recycling and reusing when it comes to things like restaurant takeout containers, 10 by 20 trays, my 6 cell packs, any other pots that I use. You can really find a lot of those for free. So why buy it if you don't have to? Some of the places I've gotten them for free include restaurants, as well as Facebook Marketplace, from friends, from family, even from local garden centers that have a recycling bin. Next, I'm going to show you my process for potting up these African daisy seedlings.
When it comes to your potting mix, you want to make sure that it's not dripping wet. So when you squeeze it, there should be no water dripping from it. However, when you let go, it should hold its form, and that tells you it's the right consistency. Here's the 6 cell pack that we're going to use, and notice it has drainage holes in the bottom. That's very important. Whatever container or pot you use needs to have drainage holes in the bottom. Let's go ahead and add our potting mix to our 6 cell pack. It's very important that you fill up your 6 cell pack to the top. You want to press down, and the reason for that is you are trying to get rid of any air pockets that might be in there. If there are air pockets in there, that can cause a lot of issues, and one of the main issues is when it comes to bottom watering, you may not be able to fully bottom water a particular cell. Also, make sure that you're not pressing down too hard, because if you press down too hard and compress the soil, it's going to cause problems for proper root development.
It's always a good idea to label your seedlings, especially if you don't know what the plants are or if you're growing a lot of different colors or varieties of the same type of plant. I like to just use a tool. You can use whatever you want in order to make a hole inside of each of the cells. It just makes it easier when it comes time for planting the seedlings. Also, since the seedlings have large roots in them, we're going to make sure that we make the hole so it reaches the bottom of each cell. This side over here is where we sowed the African daisy blue disc seeds. And this side over here is where we sowed the African daisy mix that I got from Dollar Tree. For the Dollar Tree seeds, only one germinated. I really did not have good luck with those. However, with the Baker Creek seeds, we had a lot more success. In fact, this is how many seedlings we've gotten so far. So that's 24 seedlings that we've gotten out of this little restaurant takeout container. And then we still have these ones to prick out. I'm going to use my pen again, and I'm going to try to get beneath each of the seedlings in order to pry them out and get them out of the soil. When it comes to handling seedlings, you always want to handle them by their leaves. You never want to handle a seedling by its stem. If you handle a seedling by its stem and the stem breaks, the plant will die. If you handle a seedling by its leaf, and let's say this leaf breaks, at least the plant still has one more leaf on here, and that's important. That will help the plant still photosynthesize and be able to feed the roots and encourage the plant to get bigger. So we're just going to go underneath the plant, and as we're doing that, we're just very carefully going to try to lift it. And I'm just trying to tap off some of the soil just because it'll make it a little bit easier for me to plant this. And I want you to notice right here, there is another seedling trying to emerge. So what I like to do often is come in here and just push it back in gently, just to make sure that it is secure and sound, and it's going to come up whenever it's ready. And that's what the seedling looks like, and it has a pretty good root system to it. We're also going to be burying much of the stem. We don't need the stem to be above soil level. So you can see between the stem as well as the roots, that's why we made the hole as deep as we did, because it needs to account for all of that. So I'm just going to guide the plant by getting the roots in there. I can take the back of my pen and very carefully push in the rest of the plant. And then I can go ahead and I can start backfilling around it. You'll see in many of my videos, I do this where I like to bury the stem. I've found that it works well for me for almost all the plants that I grow from seed. But I always encourage you to do your research just to make sure that it's okay for the plant that you're growing from seed. And now we have a plant that is nice and sturdy and it can continue thriving in its own little cell. In this example, I'm pointing to the first leaves that appeared when the plant first emerged. Those are called the cotyledons. A plant has everything it needs from the seed to the cotyledons to grow. It does not need any fertilizer at that point. However, the next thing that I'm pointing to, those are called the true leaves. As soon as any plant starts to get what are called the true leaves, at that point you can start fertilizing your plants. You don't want to give a full dose of fertilizer. You want to give a half a dose of fertilizer because these plants are still quite young. And I like to use all-purpose Miracle-Gro when fertilizing my flowers. Next, we're going to take out the seedling. What I'll probably end up doing is removing as many seedlings as I can from this tray. I'll probably mist it again one more time, and then I'll cover it back up, just in case any more seeds are going to germinate inside of the tray. And that's what the seedling looks like. Again, they might have gotten a tiny bit leggy, so we're going to correct that by burying them deeper. Get that placed in there. You really can't go wrong when it comes to starting flowers from seed. There's just so many different varieties out there, and you really can save a lot of money when you grow plants from seed. I'm going to get these ones here, and I'm noticing right behind this tag, there is another little seedling trying to come up. There you go, little guy. And then I'm actually just going to push it back down just to make sure that it has good contact with the soil. It's still quite small, and I really don't plan on pulling it out just yet. I'd rather wait a few more days. I don't know about you, but I have a ton of seedlings that need to be potted up. So I plan on making a lot of different videos to show you my process on what I'm doing with all my seedlings. Even if it's just a matter of us potting up a 6 cell pack, then you know what the process is and how I'm doing it. Sometimes when you're pricking out a seedling, some of the root breaks. That's okay if a little bit of the root breaks. As long as it still has some roots on the bottom, the plant will be fine. With the seedling, you can see that one of the 2 cotyledon leaves is folded down perfectly fine. See in the center there? It's starting to push out its first set of true leaves. Eventually, these cotyledon leaves aren't even that important anymore. They are important at first, but eventually it's the true leaves that take over. I've mentioned in previous videos that sometimes you have seedlings of different plants that are holding on to their seed cap. A lot of times the plant will let go of its seed cap whenever it's ready. You can sometimes guide it. A lot of times you can just put a little bit of spit on your fingers and rub the top of the seedling and the seed cap will fall off. But no matter what you do, just be gentle because you don't want to break off all the leaves off your plant. So let's take this one here and we'll give it a try. So I'm very gently going to try to tug, and the seed cap does not want to come off. Now I wet my fingers with some saliva and it came off. Let's go ahead and get this little one placed. I love collecting my own seeds from a lot of my plants, so I am hopeful to collect seeds from these plants once they bloom this year. And if I'm successful, I'll make a video showing you my process. Yep, that one just came right out. And I want to show you, it doesn't seem to have much of a root system on the bottom. That's okay. We're still going to plant it and we'll see what happens. In a situation like this where there really isn't much roots on this plant, I'd rather not give up a whole cell for it because who knows if this plant will live or not. What I'd rather do is just bump it in with another plant. And if it does end up creating more roots on there, at that point I can always prick the seedling out and then move it into its own cell. But since space is limited under grow lights this time of year, I'd rather just maximize the amount of space that I have. And one question that I've gotten about seedlings is, well, can I do this with all my seedlings? Have 2 or 3 plants share a small cell like this? I usually recommend against it because certain plants, like for example, African daisy, are going to grow very fast. So I don't want to be then thinning out all these plants. And I also don't want these plants to be competing for space. I'm okay doing it in this situation, but otherwise normally I would recommend against it. Get our last little seedling here. Just going to push down and place our last seedling in. And now the seedlings are nice and tucked into their own cells and they can thrive and take off. I'll end up taking out a few more of these seedlings and potting them up. This actually feels pretty heavy, so it doesn't need any water. So I'll just go ahead and I will put the humidity dome back on, and any other seedlings that want to germinate or get bigger can do so at that time. And even though the first set of true leaves are just barely starting to appear on some of the seedlings, I'm going to wait about another week before I start giving these guys a half a strength of diluted fertilizer. Remember, at this point, it's very important to be bottom watering our seedlings. We don't want to be pouring water on the top. They're still very young, they're still very fragile. I don't want dampening off to happen with my seedlings. Once the plants are much bigger, more established, at that point it's okay to water from above. This tray will continue to stay under my grow lights, which are on 16 hours a day, and the grow lights are 2 to 3 inches above the seedlings. If you're interested in knowing more about my grow lights and the setup, I'll go ahead and add a link to that video down in the description below. My grow room also has an oscillating fan that comes on 16 hours a day. It's on a timer, just like my lights are on a timer. And the reason that I have the oscillating fan in here is just to add movement. It encourages healthier, stronger plants, and it mimics what the plants are going to go through when they're eventually out in the landscape. Let me know in the comments if you're growing African daisy, and if so, which variety or varieties are you growing? How are your plants doing? I'd love to know. I'll continue to make updates when it comes time to pinching back these plants to make sure they're bushier. If I do need to bump them up one more time before they get placed outside, I'll show you my process for doing that, and then eventually we'll harden them off and get them out in the landscape. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.